We all die. I'm not being facetious right now. I've never been more afraid of the imminent nuclear war than I am right now. We have pushed Russia into a corner. Russia has responded using a weapon of unprecedented strength. This variant of the Rubiev RS-26 missile that was used. Again, as a missile, Putin's speech, I would ask people to listen to it, even if you don't read Russian or understand Russian. Look in his eyes. Watch him as he speaks and understand he has made a decision that if the West wants a nuclear war, the West has a nuclear war. He doesn't want it, but he's made the decision. He has said, all decisions have been made, all orders have been issued. There will be no more discussion. We automatically mirror what you do. So when you attack us with storm shadows and attackums, there's no debate. We don't ask ourselves, we will hit you. If you escalate and bring in a threat from Poland, we will take out the target automatically. There's no debate. And if you want a nuclear war, we will launch everything and kill you all. That's the decision that's been made. That's where we're at right now. All decisions have been made. All orders have been given. There's nothing to talk about except the West needs to stop doing what it's doing. It's very dangerous. He chided the Americans. He said, the weapon we used to be banned under the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty. There was this is a treaty, just I think you know my background. I was a weapons inspector for the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty. In fact, I have the honor of being the first weapons inspector on the ground in the Soviet Union to implement that treaty. This was the treaty that got rid of the most dangerous weapons in the world at that time. The Pershing II, the ground-launched cruise missile, the Soviet SS-20, their SS-4s, SS-5s. We got rid of them. These were the weapons that were going to bring us to war. And in 2019, Donald Trump withdrew from that treaty. Said, no, we're done. Accused the Russians of cheating, but when the Russians went, we're not cheating, you show us the proof. Wouldn't show them the proof. He just said, no, we're withdrawing. And then immediately tests an intermediate nuclear range missile, which means that we've been planning on withdrawing for a long time because you don't immediately test. There's about a year's worth of preparation going on there. But the Russians said, okay, we're not going to develop intermediate range missiles unless the United States deploys missiles to Europe. Well, last spring we had an exercise in Denmark and we deployed intermediate range missiles to Europe. And Putin went, I warned you. I mean, this is the real Putin. I don't know why people think he bluffs. He doesn't bluff. He's very upfront about what he's going to do. He said, I'm not going to build these missiles unless you deploy missiles there. Then we deployed them. And he said, I warned you. And we went, no, but it was just an exercise. He went, no, you brought them to Europe. So he began building missiles. In 1983, the Soviets, because we were deploying the Pershing II missile to Germany, the Pershing II at that time, if you fired it 7 minutes later, it would hit Moscow. The Russians were scared to death of this thing. They're like, oh my God, it's there. So to respond to that, they built a new missile called the Skorost, the speed. And basically it was just a modification of existing missiles. They took the first two stages of it, put a different warhead on top of it, a conventional warhead, by the way, and they were going to flood Germany and Czechoslovakia with these weapons. And the moment they detected the Pershing II doing anything, bam, hit it right there, right on the spot. Boom, 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 instantaneous. The speed, the Skorost. But then the INF treaty came in, people like me, and that was the end of that weapon because it was of the wrong range and it got destroyed and never got deployed in full strength. The Soviet rocket forces, the guys I've been talking to, Savvy, I just want to tell you, it really helps to talk to people. You learn a lot when you do. And the fact that the United States government doesn't want me talking to Russians tells you how important it is to talk to Russians. And I've talked to the Russian guys who are in the rocket force, and they're bitter about the INF treaty and all that because they view that as Gorbachev giving away their military capabilities. Boris Yeltsin made them weak, and Putin's been gradually strengthened. But even Putin, they were frustrated with because he always played by the rules. Putin's like a fair guy. Well, Putin finally said, all right, you're going to do that. We're going to rebuild. The missile that the Russians used against Dnipro, the modification of the RS-26, is the new Skorost. America hasn't woken up to the fact yet that Russia, because we're threatening to deploy a missile called Dark Eagle, which is like a really, modern hypersonic Pershing II. We're deploying it to Germany. And so the Russian military went, hey, baby, let's go back to the old playbook. And they've built a missile that now will be deployed, flood the zone, conventional warheads. And the moment we do anything, bam, it hits. You saw it. 6 independently targeted warheads. Each warhead had 6 large submunitions. It's saturated there. Remember, its job is to destroy an American mobile launcher. So when we bring the launcher out, here comes this thing in with its cluster warheads, wham, down on the field, everything dies. We did it to ourselves. And Putin said, you guys made the biggest mistake in your life because we had a treaty where none of this existed. But now we got it. And now you're going to pay the price. And America doesn't know how to do that. Now, I just want to say one last thing to set this all in motion. Biden in September said no to this. Do you remember?
Yep.
We flew down, all that stuff. Said no. Said we're not going to do that because he understood the risks. He was told by Lloyd Austin this could be a nuclear war. He was told by the Russians this could be a nuclear war. Straight up, Anatoly Antonov said, you do this, we're going to nuke America. And he went, okay, I'm not going to do it. Now he's done it. Why? What changed? One thing.
Well, Trump won.
Bingo. And here's the problem. Trump won. Why is a lame duck president hell-bent on taking us down the path to war when the person who won the election overwhelmingly is saying, I don't want war with Russia. I want to end the conflict with Ukraine. That's the will of the people, whether you agree with it or not. It's a democracy. The people voted. That's what the majority of people said we want to happen. And the person who lost the election, instead of respecting that, is moving forward in the exact opposite direction. They call it Trump proofing. Trump proofing. What constitutional right do they have to do this? Trump proofing. You know who's doing the Trump proofing? The deep state. The unelected deep state is doing this. They're afraid of Trump because Trump's come in and said, I'm taking the deep state down. And the other thing I have is Joe Biden hasn't said anything. They won't let him talk about this. He's not allowed to take any questions on this, which raises, in my mind, the possibility of a de facto coup d'etat being carried out by Antony Blinken, who was in favor of this all along, and Jake Sullivan, both of whom are beasts of the deep state, who are saying we have to Trump-proof everything so that it survives Donald Trump. But the problem is their Trump-proofing is leading us dangerously down the path towards a nuclear confrontation with Russia. They aren't going to back down. Putin just said, stop. But I guarantee you that Ukraine is going to launch another Storm Shadow attack. And then Putin's going to hit them with another Rubiej. And then we're going to take umbrage and we're going to do something to help the Ukrainians by maybe firing a missile from Poland to take down a Russian missile. That missile site gets hit. Now, NATO says Article 5, and they launch a larger strike against Russia, and Russia nukes Europe. And here's the scariest thing about it, Sabby. Today, you don't mind if I call you Sabby? Should I call Sabrina? I apologize. I don't want to say, I don't want to feel.
I don't mind.
All right, I apologize because I want to be respectful. I'm always respectful. I just saw in your tweet that sometimes you use Sabby or people call you Sabby. So I took the initiative, but if it's the wrong thing to say, I apologize. My wife and my mom have raised me to be a gentleman, so I'm not to insult anybody. So, but here's the thing. Right after, because Vladimir Putin just signed off on a new nuclear doctrine for Russia. that basically lowers the threshold for Russian use of nuclear weapons to about zero, meaning all the stuff we're doing right now, could Russia, he said, under our doctrine, I could use nuclear weapons right now. I could use them right now. How did the United States respond to this? Rear Admiral Buchanan of the United States Strategic Command, they're the ones who control all our nuclear weapons, came out and said, that's okay. We're not afraid of his nuclear doctrine because we're ready to have a nuclear exchange with Russia. And we think we're going to win. And we'll retain enough nuclear weapons so that after we have our little nuclear exchange with Russia, we can still have nuclear deterrence. How about, you guys do know what a nuclear exchange means, right? Everybody understands that. It means a war where nuclear weapons are exploded on each other's territories. He is saying that the Biden administration has made a decision that it's okay to enter a nuclear war with Russia because we think we're going to win. I'm telling you right now, we would lose 100 million people plus in a limited nuclear exchange with Russia.
This is insane.
Thank you. It's insane, totally insane. But where's the press? Where's everybody? So I'm going to make an announcement, then I'll go back to you,